Hello, everybody, and welcome to another organized rambling. This time I wanted to talk about anti-villains in video games, or at least mainly anti-villains. We'll also be talking about heroes, villains, and anti-heroes, but I thought that it would be really interesting to talk about anti-villains specifically, since this is not really a topic I could find to be really talked about really in any medium, but especially for video games. I could not actually find anything about anti-villains in video games, so I thought this would be very interesting. So to start off with, let's start with some definitions. I kind of got this idea about, well, actually I learned about anti-villains, because this is the first time I ever heard the term anti-villain, from the channel Tail Foundry. So, both from their videos, which I will link their videos for anti-hero and anti-villain down in the description below. But I thought they were super interesting and kind of gave me the inspiration to kind of talk about this topic. So kind of from what I gathered from their videos and also just other research. Let's start with the definition of anti-hero, since that's a little bit more well known. Anti-heroes are very commonly talked about, and you see them very commonly, especially in more modern media. It is a person with a good goal, but they have questionable methods or lacking morals. So, you know, their end goal is something good for either themselves, not necessarily for themselves, but for others or whatever. But they have like some questionable methods to go along with it. And again, we'll kind of talk about a little bit more specifics once we get into actually talking about the different characters. And then for anti-villain, there's kind of two types that this can kind of branch off into. There's both of them have an evil end goal. But though the first type, which is known as the well-intentioned extremist, has an evil goal end methods, but has good motives. So, just for a more popular media example, think of Thanatos. Or not Thanatos. Thanos. Wrong character. Think of Thanos. He wants to save all the universe, basically, since there's only so many supplies, but he wants to do that by killing half the universe. So, good motives, but ultimately evil goal and methods. The other type, which is known as the noble anti-villain, has evil goal but good methods. Think of like having an honor code, basically. They'll do bad things, but only up to a certain point. They have a line in the sand that they will go to, but still have an evil goal. And as you can kind of tell from that, the main difference between anti-hero and anti-villain, and that really makes them exact opposites, well, kind of exact opposites on one side of the spectrum, but as we'll kind of see once we start talking about it, they can get pretty blurry on which side of the line some characters can land on. Most of my examples, I tried to be a little bit more clearer with this, but a lot of characters in media you'll see like can really be seen on either side because they're very close. But the main difference you really got to think about is what is their end goal? Is it a good or evil end goal at the end of the day? And also still how they go about it, but mainly the end goal is the main difference here. I decided that the easiest way to do this would be to have a tier list. It would be a little bit more clear to kind of show this, and then I can briefly kind of talk about each character as I go through it. But I thought this would be the kind of clean, simple, nice way to see what I'm talking about here. So, we will mostly go down the line. I think there's a couple characters. I'll talk about the Last of Us characters last. Because I have a potentially hot take there. So we'll throw them for last. So, let's get started with this list. Start off with, we have Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Revengeance. Easily a villain. I had to think about this a little bit, because he could be kind of well-intentioned extremist. Because he is what he says he wants is to bring freedom to people and stuff, but like I think he more falls into like delusional villain of like his version of freedom is like completely oppressing people and people can't think for themselves, basically. So easy villain. He's a warmonger and terrible person that just wants to control everyone to bring about his version of freedom. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Batman, which is a hero. He is not an anti-hero. Some people end up thinking he's an anti-hero, but he is not, because he beats bad guys up, but like he never kills anyone. Really, the only reason people think that he's maybe an anti-hero is just because he's kind of like dark and moody, but he's just a depressed hero, basically. He's just a depressed hero with a tragic backstory. But he's still a hero. He has a good goal, does it in a good way. So he's still a hero. Booker DeWitt. This will be our first anti-hero. This is the main protagonist from BioShock Infinite. And basically the story, he ultimately tries to do good to protect Elizabeth, but he kills a lot of people along the way. And I won't really get into too many story spoilers. I'll try not to get into spoilers for any of these characters. But he also did some bad stuff in his past as well. So he's not the greatest guy. But he does have a good end goal and ultimately tries to do good. Catwoman. Where did I... Hold on. I have a list over here where I put everyone. Pretty sure Catwoman... Yeah, Catwoman is an anti-hero. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. But I just wanted to check with what... So I have a list of when I actually more in-depth thought about these. But yeah, Catwoman's an anti-hero. Definitely more on the side towards an anti-villain. But she steals and stuff, but I don't think she ever kills anyone. She does occasionally help Batman and stuff, and does try to do some good and stuff. So can't really fall into the villain category since she does end up doing some good and stuff, but has some questionable things that she also does on the side. But I think she still falls on the more on the side of anti-hero. Another villain that also comes from BioShock Infinite, same as Booker DeWitt, would be Comstock, because he is basically the leader of a theocracy in the heavens that's not in the heavens, but in the sky, that's incredibly racist. The whole society, it's just very evil and bad. He just wants to keep perpetuating his life and perpetuating things and stuff on how they should have been after the Civil War and stuff. So yeah, evil. I don't know. It probably would go like this, I feel like. Because more towards the top and more towards anti-villain. So, Storm's more delusional. Comstock, I don't think there's any redeeming qualities with Comstock, I'm gonna be honest. Corvo from Dishonored, both 1 and 2. Mostly I'm focusing on 1 here, because you can also play as his daughter, which I'm blanking on her name, in the second game. Corvo is kind of one of those examples I was talking about where, like, it's a character that depends on your choices. He is either an anti-hero. Actually, I would say he's actually probably a hero if you decide to do the non-violence route, not killing anyone. Because that's all good methods. But I would say if you decide to kill people, he would probably fall more into anti-hero, possibly anti-villain, but no, his end goal is good though, of trying to still free people. But so I would still he'd probably place this an anti-hero, definitely high anti-hero. Definitely close to hero depending on how you play him, but even with the non-violence, could probably still be seen more as an anti-hero. But if you go the violence route, yeah, definitely an anti-hero. GLaDOS, yeah, definite villain. She probably goes up a little bit because she's not necessarily as evil as these other people, but yeah, if you know the Portal series, GLaDOS, yeah, I mean, she's just stereotypically over the top, laughably evil. Just tests people and does not care about life at all. Like, yeah, comedically evil. So kind of a very stereotypical villain there. Kratos from God of War, and also most of these also I pulled from games I have played myself. God of War and The Last of Us are the only 2 I haven't, but I know a decent amount about God of War, and I've watched both The Last of Us games, so I've heard about most of those. The rest of these are all games I have played, just to clarify that point. Kratos, though, is, as you can see where I am hovering, is definitely an anti-hero. He's probably up there. He was... because I had to read a little bit exactly what his motives were but he's basically trying to get revenge upon the gods for what they did to him, and he just kind of goes on a murder spree. So yeah, he's trying to free people from the gods' oppression, from the oppression of the Olympian gods, but also kind of just brutally murders a lot of them for fair enough reasoning, but definitely shaky grounds. But yeah, good end goal, you know, possibly bad methods. So anti-hero. My anti-villains must be further down. Yeah, they are all like further down because I don't even in the anti-villain category yet. But Master Chief, definitely a hero. I don't think he really does anything even bad. Again, kind of just a very stereotypical hero, kind of the opposite of GLaDOS. Text to save humanity and all that kind of stuff, so slap him there in hero. Leon S. Kennedy, and honestly, most, if not all, of the Resident Evil protagonists, like the main ones at least. I just chose Leon because he's probably my favorite. Yeah, he's probably my favorite, the Resident Evil protagonists. But all of them are pretty much, you know, I didn't mean to be hovering down. Stereotypical hero. They all are just trying to protect and save people, and yeah, I don't think they really do anything bad. So again, easy hero. The villains and heroes are very obvious, pretty much usually, or at least for most of these. But I decided to give a good range at least. The Institute. We have our first anti-villain. This is not a character. So this is a bit of a deviation. But I was just really trying to come up with different examples for possible anti-villains. It's kind of definitely hard to come up with when you start trying to look for them. But the Institute, though, I think would fall into an anti-villain category. Their end goal is pretty evil. They kind of just want to like control people, and they're also enslaving the synths. And also just view people on the surface as lesser and keep all their technology to themselves. But though their motives though are that they want to like protect humanity and expand technology, and they believe that this will save the human race and stuff from the apocalypse, from the nuclear apocalypse and stuff. And they are saving the people at the end of the Institute, so some good motives, but definitely kind of evil overall once you start looking at them a little bit more. So I would say that's our first anti-villain. Yeah, again, kind of an organization. I guess I could have put Sean here as a character, but it's probably, I think, just more organization as a whole, because even if you take over and stuff, still kind of that way. Jack Cooper from Titanfall 2. Again, easy hero. Just does good, wants to protect people, fights on the frontier, all that good stuff. Nothing much really to say there. Joker, yeah, he is farthest away from any of these. He is definitely just kind of like GLaDOS, but not necessarily in a comedic evil way. He's just straight up evil, just kills people and just does whatever he wants. Yeah, evil. Fully evil. Micah Bell. Let me check. I think I put him in villain, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay. That's what I was thinking. Micah Bell. Probably here. Yeah, he probably actually goes further into villainy because closer is getting closer to anti-villain. Probably there. Micah Bell. I'm not gonna give really too many. Again, I'm trying to stay away from like some story spoilers. But he's just a bad guy. Everyone, which we'll talk about a couple of the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters here soon. But so they all do crimes, but depending on what their end goal and their reasoning and what they ultimately end up doing and stuff, that's kind of what puts them at the bottom. He's just selfish, greedy, only cares about himself, all that kind of stuff. So villain. The Thieves Guild from the Elder Scrolls series. They're definitely more towards anti-hero, better character. Institute's more towards villainy. The Thieves Guild, kind of also a little bit basic, but again has an honor code, so definitely the noble anti-villain. Again, another organization. But just kind of looking at them as a whole, They steal and stuff from houses and from whatever, but they have a code of no killing. So end goal's kind of evil. I've always wanted to kill. Maybe not so evil sounds kind of extreme, but they're all just about stealing and stuff like that. But because of the no code thing, they go into anti-villain. Ras Al Ghul. I think I'm saying his name. Ra Ghul. He goes also into anti-villain. I probably goes like, actually, no, he goes there. Because he's close to the villain. But so his end goal is kind of evil stuff, but again, kind of a lot of these characters kind of see the good motives kind of thing. His is that he wants to stop crime and also protect the environment and stuff, but kind of similar to Thanos' kind of ideology. It's going to involve killing a lot of people. People in positions of power, specific people. He's the leader of the League of Assassins, so they just kill people to try to stop crime. Kind of the opposite of Batman. Instead of, stopping crime by just beating them up and, throwing in prison and stuff, he wants to just kill them. But has some good motives of trying to stop crime and make the world a better place. Just bad ways of going about it. Arthur Morgan, definitely an anti-hero. Probably put where would I put him? Probably like here. Because it also depends on how you play. Actually, yeah, since you can depend on how you play him, I'll put him at the bottom, a little bit more towards anti-villain if you play him low honor. Even low honor probably would still be anti-hero. Maybe. But speaking of high honor, though, definitely an anti-hero. Commits crimes, kills people, does all kinds of things. He even knows this himself in the story. He admits multiple times that he is a bad person, and he knows this. But he keeps doing it and stuff because he wants to protect his family. Not blood-related family, but protect the family that he has, and to give everything he can to them. So ultimately has a good end goal, but yeah, definitely lacking some morality and questionable ways of going about it, but definitely also if you play, again, high honor, you help people, you save people, and you do good things along the way. Should probably put a little bit above Callum. Dutch Vanderlyn, also from Red Dead Redemption 2. Again, not to get into too many spoiler things. Where'd he go? I go like here-ish. He was a weird one I had to kind of think about, but I would say he probably fits into anti-villain. The red characters in Red Dead Redemption 2 are so well written, they're so dynamic and stuff, so Dutch is an interesting case, but because I think his motives are that he wants to help the family and stuff, but ultimately his end goal is kind of, he cares a lot more about money. It becomes a lot more clearer as the story progresses and stuff. He still wants the money to go towards the gang and stuff, but it's kind of more and more selfish, and he also kind of becomes a little more delusional as it kind of goes along. So probably falls more into anti-villain, but kind of close to Arthur Morgan, but a little bit different again, the end goals. Ada Wong, another anti-villain. She would go closest to anti-hero here. Because she could almost be an anti-hero, but again, it's the end goals, though. She does help save Leon multiple times, in both RE2 and RE4, but her end goal in both ones is to get whatever it is that her client requests, which, at least in RE4, is Albert Wesker. I think RE2 is also probably Albert Wesker, which, did I forget to put Albert Wesker on here? Oh, well, whatever. Albert Wesker would be easy villain. Again, kind of like GLaDOS, or I didn't even point up here, down here. Easy villain, just over the top evil. But, so her end goal is always trying to get at some sort of vial of a gene or whatever for the mutations and things. So she always has that, and is always just a mercenary at the end of the day. Although she can help Leon and do some good things, her end goal is, helping evil, but not as an evil person herself. But again, the end goal thing. Okay, the last of us characters. So, This is, well, for Joel, it's going to be The Last of Us Part 1. Ellie and Abby, Last of Us Part 2. We're going to start with Joel, because Joel's easier. Or at least in my opinion. I think he's an anti-hero. He probably goes, like, here? He probably goes a little bit above. Yeah, I'd put him there. Actually, he probably goes even a little bit higher. Yeah, we'll go there. Because Joel, his previous life before meeting Ellie, he's definitely probably more in the villainary category. Does a lot of bad things, mostly for himself. Just to survive, which is fair enough motives, but is a kind of more of a criminal at the end of the day. But then once he meets Ellie, though, his end goal ends up becoming good. He always wants to save Ellie, even though a lot of his methods are going pretty badly. He kills a lot of people. That's kind of the theme of a lot of the anti-heroes. They kill a lot of people, basically, along the way, or torture people and stuff. But his end goal of saving Ellie and protecting the one family that he has, the one person he has left, the love and stuff, is a good end goal. And with the ending of the game, again, not going to say it. I'm sure most people probably know the ending of The Last of Us, but if you don't, I'm not really going to say it. But his end goal is still good, even though it's definitely questionable whether or not it was a good thing. What he did, his intentions and end goal were good. So, now, this is the hot take part. And maybe we'll spark some discussion, which is good. I love discussion and debate. I think that in The Last of Us Part 2, if we take, which also I had to think about some of these, which Tail Foundry also put well in their video, like you really gotta think about things in the context of the story. In any medium, you gotta see in the context of the story, how are they portraying this character and what parts of them are you seeing. Ellie in the first Last of Us Part 1 definitely would be hero. She kills some people, but only out of necessity. Which obviously all these other heroes also kill people. Well, actually, except for Batman. Technically, he doesn't kill anyone. But these other three do kill people. But though, I guess it depends on what kind of people you're killing, I guess is the difference here and how. But so she would be in Hero in Last of Us Part 1. But, you know, we only see a little bit from her perspective. But from Last of Us Part 2, it's obviously mainly focused on Ellie and Abby. And I would... Alright, here, I'm gonna say my placements, and then I'll give my reasoning here. I would say, in the context of the game, and looking at it from the perspective of just what you see in the game, I would say that Ellie would probably actually be more in the villain category. I'm going to get a pipe bomb in the mail for these takes, probably, and Abby would be an anti-villain. I'm going to put them both at the very extremes because it's kind of back and forth on where they could go. But, so here's my reasoning. Now, this was kind of an interesting and fun one to think about, because I didn't really think about this one. But, from the story, Abby, again, okay, possible spoilers for just the start and middle-ish of Last of Us Part 2, because the start of Last of Us Part 2 is pretty kind of shocking and stuff. So, spoilers for the beginning of Last of Us Part 2 and vaguely in the rest of it. Not really the ending, but spoilers for the beginning of Last of Us Part 2. But what Abby does in The Last of Us Part 2, again, I'll still try to be vague about for spoiler reasons, but what she does in the beginning of Last of Us Part 2, which is kill Joel. I guess I can't really be vague about it because otherwise it's not really going to make sense what I'm talking about. To kill Joel, which... you gotta admit, he definitely probably had it coming. He killed a lot of people, did a lot of bad things his whole life. So, she did kill someone that did have it coming. Yes, he did kind of redeem himself at the end and stuff, and was just living a peaceful life. Did he really deserve it? That's a whole different question and conversation. Not really gonna get into that, but though, did he at least probably have it coming? Yes. And... also, like, he did go on a whole revenge mission as well, so a revenge mission from her makes sense. But for the rest of The Last of Us Part 2, at the start, I would say she's probably a villain. Her whole end goal is revenge, not very good reasoning. But the rest of Last Part 2, which I guess is probably why a lot of people don't like The Last of Us Part 2 for what they did with the story and stuff, is because it kind of puts these two characters in these positions that kind of doesn't really sit right with a lot of people, which is fair enough. She does end up helping, I forgot to look up what the name of the kid was, but does end up helping that one kid or whatever escape a group of people and stuff, and does protect the kid, and I think they're a kid. Maybe they might be an adult, but protects the person and helps them on their way. I can't remember exactly to what goal, but you know, finds someone, helps them, protects them, loses the whole revenge thing because you know she did what she wanted to do. It's over, and she kind of just moves on and kind of does generally decent things. Again, still kills people, but so I think that's why. Actually, I'm trying to think. Actually, I don't know. She'd actually maybe be more at the top. Now I'm starting to rethink my decisions because I'm trying to think like with my definition of the end goals. Her end goal in The Last of Us Part 2, because the beginning was to get revenge. In the end, though, is to probably just get out of there and try to escape Ellie. So I don't know. She might even be actually kind of closer to here. Now I'm gonna put her dead middle. I'm gonna put her in the middle. Actually, I don't know. Maybe actually higher. Maybe I'll put her higher. She could be an anti-hero. Done bad things and stuff, but ultimately now wants to do good. I don't know. It just feels weird putting her an anti-hero because it doesn't really seem enough to justify her being an anti-hero. I think what she did just doesn't really justify it there. So maybe like in between, close. But Ellie, though, in the context of the game, which sucks to say, I do think she's probably a villain. Because her end goal, since pretty much, you know, right near the beginning of the game, again, Last of Us Part 1, she's a hero. But up until pretty much the beginning of the game, past that point, she definitely becomes a villain. Her whole end goal is revenge, to kill Abby. And anyone that steps in her way, which is a lot of people, and definitely also some people she definitely should not have killed and tortured brutally as she did. Again, I'm not gonna try to spoil things, but she does some really bad and messed up stuff. They definitely kind of took her character and into a very evil route. And I just don't even see where she'd even have a good motive to even put her into anti-villain. No good motives. She doesn't even really have a code of honor. I don't really even know what her line was, because she definitely crosses some lines. If you remember anything with The Last of Us 2, she definitely crosses some lines. So I don't even think it really justifies really most of it at all. So she probably goes there, and probably still above these other villains because these people are just completely evil. She has some reasons and was good and does some good things, but just so much bad that I would throw under villain. Again, Abby. I'm trying to think actually. I feel like I keep moving Abby around because it feels weird to call her an anti-hero because she, you know, kills Joel. But though, she doesn't. I don't know if I'm just trying to stick with my definitions here, because that's kind of what helps here, is like get some good guidelines, and the context of the story probably is actually an anti-hero now that I think about it. I'll put her right at the bottom. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it. Because she doesn't really have an evil end goal. She just kind of helps her friends and helps that one person. And then just wants to escape. Remember, she still joins the Fireflies. I don't remember what her end goal completely was. Actually, I don't know. I'll still put her back in anti-villain, because Ellie's still kind of the main character, so comparatively to the main character, she's the antagonist. I'll stick her there, but I don't know. She could probably be somewhere in between. She's kind of a weird one, again, depending on how you look at it. I can't exactly remember what you... I kind of know her end goal, but... I think, though, overall, she probably gets dropped down to anti-villain. But yeah, again, Elio I think is kind of a villain, if I'm being honest here. So yeah, these two might be some hot takes, maybe some hot takes, but maybe you guys can at least see my reasoning for those. So that is all the characters all slapped onto here. So I think that kind of gives a good visualization, at least of some of what I was talking about in here. So, and definitely as you can see, as I was going through this, it's very difficult to put these very in-depth dynamic characters into these different categories. Hero and villain are generally a little bit easier. With Ellie, you can see it can be a little bit more trickier. But these are usually a little bit more cut and dry, you know, Joker, Batman, Leon, Senator Armstrong, kind of clear. Anti-heroes, usually fairly clear. But anti-villains, though, are very interesting, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. It's definitely a strange category that you really kind of got to think about. And so you're probably wondering, Vale, why did you spend, what is it, over 30 minutes talking about these RAM characters and slapping on my tier list? Like, well, what's the point of this? Well, glad you asked. I just thought that it was just interesting thing to talk about, since again, I have not really actually seen anyone talk about this, so I thought it was a cool thing to put out there. But also, though, hopefully encourages you all to look at any character that you like in any medium. That doesn't just have to be video games; it can be movies, books, whatever, and try to think about like what is their motives, what is their morals. You know, where would they kind of land on this tier list? And again, this isn't about trying to fit these characters in these categories, because you can make arguments for moving people around on here and stuff. It's more just, I think it's really interesting to just try to have those in-depth thoughts about the characters that you enjoy. And I think that thinking about them on this kind of scale, and especially thinking about the anti-villains and stuff in different media, I think is a very good thing to just kind of contemplate and think about with the media that you enjoy. So let me know what your thoughts are about, both about my list, what you guys think, what I should have moved around. Well, actually, it's all to everyone's perspective. There's no right or wrong answer here, but I'd love to hear like your guys' thoughts about this. What are some of your favorite anti-villains in any media? It doesn't just have to be video games. And also, if you want to do this tier list yourself with these characters, I will put a link to it down in the description, so you can try it out for yourself if you'd like. And also, again, the videos by Tail Foundry, obviously I'm not sponsored or anything by them. I just think they make really interesting videos and kind of give me the inspirations for it. So give credit where credit's due, I say. But I think that is all I wanted to say about anti-villains and just kind of looking at the different morality of characters. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention was that also the interesting thing about looking at characters' moralities and perspectives, it can also be a reflection of your own morality. How do you look at a situation and think about that? You know, what do you feel about the actions of Ellie or Abby or Joel or, you know, Arthur Morgan? Are they justified? Does it make them evil, or do the means not justify the ends, or the other way around? I think it's an interesting way to both show like what do you think, and also it's gonna be nice to think about other people, like get yourself into other people's shoes, think from a different perspective. You know, from the perspective of someone else, it might completely change, you know. From the perspective of most of the people in the world of Red Dead, Arthur Morgan's probably a straight up villain, but since we see the world from his perspective, we can know that he's not completely a villain, and he's actually more of an anti-hero. But, you know, everyone in probably Saint Denis would probably think otherwise. So I think it's also kind of interesting to play around with perspective and stuff. But yeah, I think that is all I have for this organized rambling. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see y'all later.